Hi, I'm Candido.
And I'm Samantha. And on this episode, we'll be talking about Star Wars and how I was tricked into watching it, but I love it now. So that is what we're doing on this episode of
Geeking
Geeking Out
out
with
with
My
my spouse.
Spouse. All right, so Star Wars.
Yeah.
Many years ago, my brother made me watch Star Wars. It was actually, I think it was just like one episode. I can't even remember what it was. I say episode, obviously.
Movie, probably.
Yeah. So I can't even remember which one it was because I was so little. So this was like probably 6, 7, 8. I don't know. Um,
Didn't like it, I take it.
well, I can't even remember it. So I remember I thought it was all like futuristic and, whatever. And I thought it was, I think I thought it was cool, but I never really got into it. But also I never really knew anybody that was really into Star Wars. Like, I mean, I think people would watch the movies and things like that, but never,
Not
I,
like kids that you knew or
it,
people around your age that liked it or anything like that.
I mean, no, I can't remember ever talking about Star Wars growing up.
Okay.
Um,
Totally different for me.
yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Um S- Star Wars for me started by accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we were having a conversation about it before, but my parents used to work at a Borders bookstore in the logistical department, for lack of a better term. And they'd have like they have sales
Mhm.
where they would sell like all the stuff that been sitting on the shelves for a while, and they get like dibs at it, at a really highly discounted price. And they brought me home I want to say it was a figure, an action figure.
Mhm.
And it was this old dude in a brown robe with a blue laser sword, and I didn't know anything about it. Later, I've come to find out that was the original actor who played Anakin in the original trilogy, the guy who took off the mask at the very end.
Oh.
Um, but yeah, so it was like his his Jedi form, so to speak. But I didn't know too much about Star Wars then. And then one Christmas, kind of by that same design, my parents got my cousin a book about the Phantom Menace,
Oh.
which was the first one of the prequel trilogy. And on the cover, it had, I could say it now, it had Darth Maul on the cover. This dude, he had like the red and black face paint, horns on his head, and it was like the movie's guide in a book form, like intro to Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and it was this picture of the Darth Maul, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Mhm. I
So
like Darth
then,
Maul.
so then, I tried to get into Star Wars, and my first foray wasn't even the original trilogy, and it wasn't even the Phantom Menace. The first one that I ever watched was the second prequel, Attack of the Clones.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but then after I watching that one, then I had to go back, watch the Phantom Menace, then Attack of the Clones again, and then of course Revenge of the Sith. But and I saw all the original trilogy as well, and I was just hooked.
Yeah.
I think I liked it because it was futuristic, but also kind of like Western a little bit too. And
Mhm.
my dad was big into Westerns, so like he loved Clint Eastwood and John Wayne, and we watch all those old movies. So like you'd have
Yeah.
the desert scenes of Tatooine, and it was like
Oh yeah.
rowdy, and yeah, I just thought it was the coolest thing. So it's futuristic space Western, and nobody I knew outside of my cousin watched Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kids in my school like Star Wars either. Uh, it was just me, and I forced my parents to take me to see Attack of the Clones in the movie theaters, and they sat there with me, my little sister, and my parents. I believe my little sister. I hope she was born at that point. But yeah, because I was in middle school when Attack of the Clones came out. Ooh, dating
Mhm.
myself there.
So I feel like it's funny you say that because I feel like our generation was kind of in that middle point because you had the first three movies that came out, and It was a while before the second three came out, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely like I think the first
It was
one
like
came. Yeah,
decades.
the first one came out late '70s, early '80s, I believe. The first ever Star Wars came out then, and it wasn't until the 2000s or the late '90s where the sequel trilogy or the prequel trilogy came out. So
Okay. So
that
yes,
was like my time, our time.
so I think that was like the gap. So you have, the people who really like Star Wars when it came out in the beginning, and then I guess it was kind of hard to have fans when it took so long to bridge that gap. Um
Mm,
so
yeah, definitely.
yeah, so I think that's why we never really heard too much about it, was because of that.
Yeah, shoot.
But now it's like it came out then. You had the second trilogy, and then you had the third, and then bam, all these movies come out, and you're like, wow, 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 wow. Everything comes out, and um
There's a bit of a lull now though. I think people got kind of bombarded with a lot of Star Wars once Disney kind of took it over. Um,
oh yeah, because everything came out back to back. You had The Mandalorian, and then you had Book of Boba Fett, and then you had Ahsoka, and then you had
Rebels,
Rebels and
Clone Wars.
Clone
Clone Wars came
Wars.
out. A
Um
lot of these shows, yeah.
and then, oh my god, what was the Andor?
Andor was awesome, by the way. I loved
Yeah.
Andor.
So you know what? I liked Andor as well. It was Andor was just so different because
Hmm.
I it didn't give me
They didn't give you like a lot of the sci.
Star Wars esque
Yeah, a lot of the sci-fi stuff.
vibes.
They didn't have the Jedi. They didn't have laser swords or anything crazy like that. Even some of the weapon designs look like AKs and like old World War II era weapons,
Yeah,
which but it was meant to be, I think, like a dark and gritty kind of underbelly look at the world of Star Wars.
yeah.
Yeah, you remember? For the first few years when we got together, I was trying to get you to watch Star Wars.
Oh god, for so many years,
You kept telling me no, kept telling me no, kept telling me no.
and then you said, "Oh hey, um,
Well, no, then
oh
you saw the
I
Mandalorian. The,
well I saw Grogu,
you saw the little green guy at the end.
and then you said, "Oh hey, well to understand this, you have to watch all of these movies."
Yeah, I
So
definitely did. I kind of
and
Grogu was like a
then
Trojan horse for me because that
I'm So I think Grogu was a Trojan horse for a lot of wives.
a lot of
I'm gonna
wives.
say that. I'm gonna say that
Yeah,
because
you
um
see this cute little guy on the screen, you're like, man, I got to know more about that. Well, what about that? He's kind of a little Jedi. Well, what's a Jedi? Well, for that, we're gonna have to go back all the way to the original
all the
trilogy.
way. Oh yeah,
Depending on how you watch it, right? Because people watch it. Did we watch the prequels first
I'm
and
gonna
then the
be real with you.
originals?
I do not remember how we watched
I
it,
think we watched
but
it.
I know we watched.
Prequels, originals, and then the sequel trilogy, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I like it. It has its ups and it has its downs, but I think if I were to pick, I think I would probably pick the prequel era as my favorite
Yeah.
trilogy, the prequel trilogy,
Mm,
compared to the original. I guess it's because that's what I grew up on. I guess. So I
yeah.
bet you find someone who was early '80s or late '70s who watched that, they would say that their favorites was the original trilogy. I bet.
I think my brother is a Star Wars fan.
Yeah,
An undercover Star Wars fan.
undercover. Yeah, it wasn't cool to be a Star Wars nerd, a fanboy, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, now, I mean, I feel like now there's just so many Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
And you have all the conventions, and everybody dresses up like Ma- Mandalorians
Mm-hmm.
and troopers.
Yep.
All the kinds of troopers. I can't even
Stormtrooper,
keep up.
clone troopers, commandos, all that, scout troopers,
Hmm.
all those kind of things. Yeah.
What was what's uh Cara Dune?
She was a drop trooper, is what they told. I think they said her backstory was in the Mandalorian. She was a drop trooper.
Wasn't a shock trooper?
Shock trooper, drop trooper. I'd have to double check, but she was I want to say
Because she had those red things on her
yeah, they called
arm.
her. She said, "Oh, you were a dropper." Someone said that. I think
Gotcha.
Queel said that to her. So
Quill.
yeah, but I don't know. Did you have a favorite movie that you think you've seen?
So I don't. Oh,
Or movie, or you know what? Let's open it up a little bit more because, like we were saying, the movies that spawned off the TV shows, that spawned off the cartoons, that spawned off video games, that spawned off everything. So I guess what property do you think would be your favorite?
so I have a lot of unpopular opinions.
Oh, okay, okay.
I do. Well, because so you you have your favorite characters for the reasons that you have your favorite characters. I know one of your most favorite characters is Boba Fett because um he was a bounty hunter, and he was
Yeah, he just was out there, man, just trying to make his place in the universe, find his way in the universe.
but he was real aggressive.
Yeah. Well,
And
the original Boba Fett
well,
was.
yeah. So, um I really enjoyed the book of Boba Fett, and I really enjoyed his character, whereas a lot of people did not, because they didn't get that aggressive Boba
Right.
Fett.
It
And
was like politics, and I wasn't a big fan of that.
well, yes, but I also enjoyed the fact that he was a more caring individual. But that's just how I am.
Yeah, I know.
Um
Yeah, when he came back, when they first teased him in the Mandalorian,
mhm.
and like, man, that's got to be Boba Fett. You know, you hear
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
little the spurs jingle jangling when you see just boots when he was like trying to pick up or somebody leading up to the dead Fennec Shand there, and I was like, man, that's got to be Boba. That's got to be Boba. And then he shows up.
Well, the first time you see him, he's coming off of his ship, right?
I'm trying to remember. I think you just see him in the background, and then you kind of really get a good action shot or a good action scene when he goes to Din Djarin or the Mandalorian or
Hmm.
Mando, and Grogu's trying to call out on the Seeing Rock or the Seeing Stone,
Yes.
and he's like, "Man, give me back my." He's like, "Give me back my armor. We cool or whatever." And then uh, what is it, like a couple ships full of stormtroopers come, and he gets his armor, and then he just lays loot, like, let's go.
Yeah,
The dude's
I remember
taking
that.
out ships. He's got his gaffy stick, and he's like smacking these troopers, breaking their armor, and all this crazy stuff. And it was just like, dang, this is the Boba Fett we've been wanting to see, because you really didn't see it. Because they kind of dumbed him down a bit.
Well, yeah, but he had been in the Sarlacc pit for how long?
Yeah,
So
couple days. I think technically it was like a couple days.
so he was just trying to survive, and then he was tired. He was broken, and he had to lay in that thing to
The back to tank.
yeah. So I mean, you saw the more compassionate side of him, which
Yeah.
I liked. So that's an unpopular opinion because people like the rough and tumble bounty hunter, whereas I'm okay with that, but I do like a compassionate side to people. Also, we talked about earlier Jar Jar Binks, how everybody thought that he was super annoying, and I love that character. I love him. He's super cute.
That's definitely a hot take, because not a lot of people like Jar Jar Binks.
I know, it's crazy, but I love how they talk.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
the gun guns.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love how they talk. And I don't know. But also a lot of Star Wars fans are male.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of why Disney bought
they
Star Wars
get-
too, or took the rights over.
Oh, so the more men would watch it.
Well, yeah, they bought Marvel, or I say bought. They acquired Marvel. They acquired Star Wars. I mean, their repertoire was more like princesses.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so they needed something for the boys, right?
What do you think about when you think about Disney? Oh, Disney princesses.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I didn't mind Jar
Wait,
Jar too much.
so so is Princess Leia now a Disney
I
princess?
believe so.
Oh my good
Technically
lord.
so.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I definitely like Jar Jar. The only thing I didn't like about him was he was just a little too dumb for me. Like I think he was comic relief, right?
So
And then if you watch Clone Wars, which they kind of expand upon Jar Jar a little bit more in
yeah.
Clone Wars, he's not as dumb. He becomes like Amidala's second in command or whatever for the Senate stuff, but he always does dumb stuff, and
Yeah.
he always gets into trouble. And it's funny for a little bit, but then it gets kind of annoying at some point in times. And I think that's I didn't mind him in the movies, but I think in the Clone Wars I just didn't like him.
I think that's why I can relate to Jar Jar because I've always been that friend that people are like, oh, what are you doing? When I was younger, my nickname was Spaz. No joke. Everybody called me Spaz because I was always doing something crazy and off the wall, spastic. So I think that's why I relate to Jar Jar. He's cute, he's funny, he does dumb things, and I'm like, oh man, I'm so like that. Um,
Yeah. What
but
about
anyways,
what about do you like watching it? There's a dark side and there's the light side,
mhm.
right? Do you have a favorite side of the Force or a favorite character on either side of the Force? Maybe Jedi or Sith specifically.
um, okay. So this is another unpopular opinion because um I like Ray,
Oh,
and a
okay.
lot of people don't like Ray,
People don't mind Ray. They don't
but
like Ray
they're
Skywalker.
upset with the fact that she called herself a Skywalker,
Yeah.
which
But Ray was fine up until that point right there. At
yeah.
least for me anyway.
Yeah, but I feel for her because she related more with the Skywalkers than she did with Palpatine because I mean she didn't want to be bad.
Right.
So, you find out that she is related to Palpatine and you're like, "Whoa! Where did that come
I
from?"
think that, yeah. I know. I thought that was a pretty cool aspect of her character, though.
Yeah, no,
But
no doubt.
if I see this, the sequel trilogy is, I really didn't like it, so I don't know how much I can remember off the top of my head. But I want to say her dad was a clone of Palpatine. I think that's what it was.
Oh,
So she's like, like almost like his daughter, I think, or
it's
at least granddaughter at
yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
But that's why she was so strong in the Force, because Palpatine. I mean, that dude, that was it. He was the big bad.
Yeah.
They stretched him out. They stretched him out for three whole trilogies. Was the
Yeah. I did not care for Palpatine. Obviously he played his long game,
right
and you you don't know he's bad until whenever.
to
But
Revenge of the Sith.
he just has a, I don't know. I knew he was bad from the beginning. He gave me that evil villain
That
vibe.
evil villain vibe. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got it.
Um, but I like Ray. The older movies. See, and I really, really liked Anakin.
You like
Um,
Anakin the kid,
oh, Annie.
Anakin the Jedi Knight, or Anakin the soon-to-be Sith Lord Darth Vader?
So I really liked Anakin up until the point where he started hearing the voices and seeing the visions, and he went a little crazy because even though, you know, you still might be a good person and being crazy, he he let it eat at him, and I was like, man, you got to be stronger than that, especially for his wife and
Yeah,
his
his
children
secret wife and their love children.
who he didn't even know about, which I find
No,
crazy.
he knew. She
I
t-
thought they died. I thought he thought they died.
well, he knew that she was pregnant.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
that's what you meant. Okay.
Okay, no, see, and that's what I find crazy about the entire about that entire thing is how could he not feel them?
Yeah, true. He's supposed to be this all powerful, the chosen one, and
And he
since
can't even feel his own kids who are force sensitive.
I mean he feels it later in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
I think it's Empire Strikes Back, where he he's like he tells Luke like I'm your father.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Right? He's like, oh
yeah.
snap. But then and then later on he's like, there's another. It's like if you don't join me, there's another. So like I don't know at what point does he find out.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I think that was on the last one, The Return of the Jedi, I believe. He's like, if you don't join me, there's another one. And then that's when you find out like him and Leia are sisters. And I think he knew. But yeah, I definitely like Anakin too. Anakin's got that story, it's got the hero's journey, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, he starts off as little orphan Annie, with all these cool quote unquote powers, these quick reflexes, gets scooped up by the Jedi Knights and gets trained on, not Jedi Masters don't want him to be trained because he's old.
Yeah.
And he's like the trials and all that stuff. And then he befriends, not befriends, but his mentor is Obi-Wan, but he's like a brother. So he's kind of like, it's kind of a weird relationship with them because it's like, he's like a mentor, like a father figure, but he's also like a brother because they're closer in age and they're like, so that's what makes it even worse for him when he does have that fall and him and Obi-Wan have that duel on Mustafar.
Yeah.
It's a tough pill to swallow because Anakin up until that point, after all the way, he slaughtered the Sand People, the women and the children too, and you kind of sympathize with him a little bit because
they killed his
they
mother.
killed his mom. I know, I get that, but then when the youngling things happen, and that's when you're
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, Anakin, no. But it's not too bad. If you could delete,
Master Skywalker.
if you could get rid of a character in any of the shows that you didn't like, who would you get rid of?
Ooh, let's see. Well, because if you get rid of a character, see that's so hard.
It changes everything up.
Because it'd be like a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Like the what is it called? The butterfly effect.
Butterfly effect, yeah.
So you get rid of a character and it literally changes changes everything.
The entire story, right?
I wasn't too fond of Count Dooku.
Count Dooku?
He just
Darth Tyrannus. Did you know he had a Darth name?
You told me yes. But that's not in any of the movies, right?
No, it is. They reference him in Attack of the Clones as Darth Tyrannus.
Oh.
And then later on, they kind of show it. He was like, "Oh, I was Jango Fett." When Obi-Wan goes to Kamino to track him down, and he was like, "Who hired you to be the template for this army?" He's like, "Oh, I was hired by some guy named Tyrannus."
Oh, I think I do remember that.
And
because they were keeping that under. Yeah. I got it. Gosh, man,
but with Dooku though, you got to think about a lot of the side characters that come with Dooku, because without Dooku, there's no Grievous. And Grievous is a bad character in a good way.
Mamma Jamma.
I like Grievous. And then Asajj Ventress she was also
I like Ventress.
She was also his secret I don't know if she was a secret or not, because you're only supposed to have two. There's supposed to be a master and an apprentice.
Yeah.
There can only be two. And I think he trained Ventress initially on the sneak, on the low, because if Palpatine found out, I think it was like a bad deal for Dooku at that point. But
I think it's crazy how they portray what are they called when it's the force sensitive, because they won't call them Jedis, but it's the force sensitive after Order 66 that they go out and they look for the Jedis. What are they called?
I don't think I can remember that.
Oh, because they're like so pale skin, it's like they made them look like vampires. You
Oh,
know what I'm talking about.
you're talking about the Inquisitors.
Inquisitors, yeah.
They're all like super pale. I think it's because the dark side corrupts, right?
Well,
So
yeah, because
like you see Anakin, he's not only burned when he's Vader and the helmet comes off, he's like powder white,
well,
right?
that could be because he wears a helmet.
Helmet all the time, no
He gets no
sunlight,
vitamin
no
D.
tan. I don't know, is there tan? Is there sun rays in space? I don't know. Well, he does come from
Oh my
Tatooine. There's two
gosh.
suns
You
there,
don't
so
even think about that.
or no, two
Like,
moons, two moons. Wait, damn, is it two suns or two moons? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now for Tatooine, but anyway, yeah,
I think it's two sons.
yeah.
Um, yeah, man. But the Inquisitors, they're only in the cartoons, right?
So they did bring Inquisitors into the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, live action. The brother, the fifth brother, the two sisters, whatever. They brought Inquisitors there, and I want to say there's an Inquisitor in Ahsoka, the live action, but the Inquisitors are definitely in Obi-Wan.
Man, we're gonna have to rewatch it
Yeah, it's a
because
lot.
there is so much, there is so
Yeah,
much, and I forgot the Obi-Wan show.
yeah,
There was
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. There's
I
oh
definitely
my
like the Obi-Wan
goodness.
show.
Um,
So
Obi-Wan is a good character.
yeah, I like Obi-Wan.
I think it's crazy how they when they die, how they just like
Disappear.
whoosh,
Yeah,
they're gone.
they become one with the
One.
Force at that point. You only see that twice, or no, three times. You actually see
You
it.
see it with
You see
Yoda.
it with
You
Yoda,
see it with Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan,
And
and Luke. Actually, in the
yeah,
sequel
oh
trilogy,
yes,
when
when they're
he's on the rock.
yeah.
Hot take, not hot take, but his arm or his hand was cut off. It was metal. It was a robotic hand. So when he disappeared, why didn't his hand just plop on the rock? Because it wasn't part of him. A lot of people thought that too.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, well, no. I
Oh,
guess it became a part of him then at that point. But
yeah.
I think if
The Force wanted him to have an arm.
yeah, if I were to pick a favorite character, I think obviously Boba Fett's my favorite character, as you mentioned plenty of times before. But it's Boba Fett from the like Legends universe or
Hmm.
the expanded universe, all the old books and stuff that came out a long time ago, comics and all that stuff prior to the Disney merger. Um, Boba Fett escapes the Sarlacc pit. He, contemplates his life a little bit. He has this rivalry with Han. He infiltrates like the Bounty Hunters Guild, and he like tries to take it apart from the inside out.
He's
He
a ruthless bounty hunter.
Yeah, there's stories of him like becoming like the marshal of Concordia. Like he's like a official of a planet in Concordia. He gets married, he has a kid. Like you see all these cool stories, but none of those translated over. But there's definitely some really good stories of Boba Fett in the expanded universe. And then so when he came back, I thought they were gonna pull some of those stories, especially when I saw him coming back in the Mandalorian. I was like, damn, that Boba Fett's coming back from all the expanded universe stories. But the way they went with it, and I think a lot of my favorite characters are from the expanded universe because there's this character named Revan. Did I ever
Yep.
say about Revan?
Yep.
He's a Jedi, but he's kind of like dark side, light side. He started off as like a Jedi Knight, and then the Jedi was just not, he wasn't feeling what they were doing anymore, and he kind of converts over to the dark side a little bit. He battles, he has like respect for this Mandalorian people. So there's a Mandalorian character whose helmet washes up,
Hmm.
and he gets it out of respect. That's why he wears that helmet. And it's like synonymous. You'll see he has a red saber and a purple saber,
Oh.
which is pretty cool. Like he's two-handed, two sabers, purple, red, a Mandalorian helmet, and a badass cloak.
And the only other person in Star Wars universe to have a purple lightsaber,
Mace Windu,
who
Sam
is
Jackson.
Samuel L.
Yeah,
Jackson,
I
who
love,
literally is in everything.
I love Mace Windu, and I wish Mace Windu would come back because there's no reason why Mace Windu, a Jedi Master, couldn't fall out of a window
And survive.
and survive when in Attack of the Clones, Anakin literally jumps off of a flying car and just goes all the way down deep, just floating around, falling to the ground, and then just lands on a ship or a car, I guess, a flying car. So yeah, Mace Windu, he's coming back. He should anyway. At least I
Yeah.
think so. I know there's any Star Wars related stuff coming up that you're excited for.
Well, the Mandalorian movie, of course.
Yeah, Mandalorian and Grogu. I cannot wait for that
Super
movie to come
excited.
out.
May 22nd.
Yep, we're planning on taking that day off and
Absolutely.
watching it in the biggest theater available in my area, hopefully.
What was the? Why can't I think of the name of that one Star Wars show with the twins?
With the twins. Oh, Acolyte.
Acolyte.
Acolyte wasn't well received, but I thought Acolyte was cool.
Oh, I thought it was cool
Yeah.
too, really.
Especially I liked Kamir. I think that was his name. The guy from Year One show, The Good Place.
Oh, the good place.
Yeah.
The dumb guy.
He has like the coolest helmet. He has like this gauntlets that are made of this material. I want to say it was called like Uru or something like that. You know, somebody in the audience can correct me there in the comments section. But when this lightsabers hit his armor, it like sends like a shockwave through it and it disrupts it, so they can't use their lightsabers. Remember, they couldn't use their lightsabers. They would hit
Yeah.
it, like bounce it off his helmet. It like had a reignite. There was this delay. He had that cool lightsaber that turned into a second one, turned into like a little short sword.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
and he jabbed her up, took her out. That
Yeah.
was like sad death in that one. But
I was very impressed
Mhm.
with him in that show because all I had ever seen him in was The Good Place,
right,
and he did a fantastic job. I know he was the antagonist, but he wasn't a terrible person.
yeah.
He had his reasons doing what he did. Um
Cool little tidbit about Acolyte. If you didn't see it or if you don't remember it, at the very end, I can't remember the other twin's name. She ends up kind of becoming his apprentice, and there's like a little secret character in a cave spying on them. And he pops his head out, and you kind of see this shadowy figure looking at them when they're like about to start training and overlooking the ocean. And that's a tease to be Plagueis, which is Palpatine's master.
oh.
Yeah, which
Oh.
comes from a lot of the expanded universe as well.
So, is there going to be another Acolyte, or are they going to um bring in another show based on that?
From what I have seen, there is no plans
Oh,
to bring another show. There might be an extension. Disney likes to, for shows that don't do too good, they like to keep them going via comic book. So
Oh.
there might be a comic
Oh,
or
that's
something
kinda
that kind of
cool.
expands on the story.
well, the Star Wars universe is so huge, and like we talked about before, with all the books and the different worlds and everything.
Yeah,
It's
books,
like,
comics, movies, video games.
yeah,
Yeah,
video
one
games.
of my favorite video games is a Star Wars game,
Yeah.
the Old Republic. Which there's the Knights of the Old Republic, which is from Xbox. It's a kind of closed story, and then there's the Old Republic, which is the MMO. It's kind of like World of Warcraft. You pick a character and you just level it up, and you just go on adventures and have a crew, and it's all very story driven. Which haven't finished that, but I'd like to finish that
Yeah.
someday. But shoot, is there anything else?
I can't think of anything. Maybe we should do some episodes on specific shows.
Oh, yeah, specific shows, specific characters.
We'll have to do some rewatching
Yeah,
and do some fresh episodes with the different shows and
I love to do
and
an Andor.
movies.
I love to do an Andor episode
Oh yeah, absolutely.
because Andor. I loved Andor, and I love Rogue One. Rogue One is probably my favorite non-trilogy movie out of like all of them. Right. So obviously the original trilogy. Then you had the prequel and sequel trilogies, but then they have movies in between.
Yeah.
And like they had the Han Solo movie, which was but the Rogue One movie was like a masterpiece to me. Probably the best non-trilogy movie in the Star Wars universe.
Well,
And it definitely filled a spot that you didn't know. Like you didn't know. All you see in the original movie in A New Hope, you just see kind of Leia getting the plans for the Death Star.
yeah.
And it's just like boom. And then you get the plans. She puts them in R2D2. She throws them down to Tatooine or whatever. But how did she get those plans? And you see that in Rogue One.
Yep.
And then Andor shows, how Cassian became Cassian.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads in directly into Rogue One, which leads into A New Hope. It's just awesome.
Where did we leave off in Andor? Well, I mean, we finished it, but like, was he back in jail?
No, the end of Andor.
Why can't I think?
At the very end of Andor, there's like, oh, I think I want to say that there's a character named Jenna, so we need you to go save her from on Jeddah or whatever, and like it just takes off from there, and that's where Rogue One would start. So
Oh,
yeah,
oh yeah. All right,
yeah.
we're gonna have to rewatch.
All right.
Talking about it, like obviously there's so much going on, and I remember a lot, but whew,
Yeah,
refresh my memory.
got to do like a biannual or every 2 years, maybe do like a rewatch of the entire thing.
Yeah,
Maybe not Clone Wars, because Clone Wars is like 6 seasons, I think. I mean, it's a lot.
yeah.
I like Clone Wars. Don't get me wrong.
Ooh, Bad Batch.
It's a lot. Bad Batch feels the cartoon aesthetic. Rebels was actually good.
Oh my god.
Rebels for you. I remember we were watching Rebels in our a couple years ago, and we were watching it in our room, and you started falling asleep, and I just kept watching it without you.
Yeah.
So I ended up finishing Rebels because every night you'd be like, tired, but I really wanted to watch it. So you'd fall asleep, and I'd continue watching Rebels without you. So Rebels we could probably start, and you would be completely, it's like new territory for you. So, but Rebels was good because it introduces Ahsoka, not Ahsoka. Yeah, well, the adult Ahsoka. It introduced Ezra, Kanan, Sabine, which all these characters make appearances in live action later, like in the Ahsoka series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yeah.
Hera, Chopper.
Yep.
And Zeb on there. Zeb is in the Mandalorian universe.
Yep.
And he's actually in the new movie. You see him in the trailer.
Very exciting.
So we definitely need to give all that a rewatch.
Yeah.
So
if you haven't watched Star Wars, we will post on Facebook how you can watch it the good way.
Yeah. So, there's a couple different ways. There's the original way and what they call the machete order. And I will talk about that later.
Yep. We will. All right. Thanks for listening.
Until next time. Thanks for hanging out with us on Geeking Out with My Spouse. We love getting to share our nerdy rabbit holes with you, and the fact that you're here listening means the world. If you want to support the show, the easiest way is to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. You can also leave a rating or review. It helps more than you think.
Do you want to go the extra mile? Share this episode with a friend. Tag us on your socials. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Or send us your wild theories and fandom hot takes at geekingoutwithmyspouse@gmail.com. We'll be back next time with more cozy chaos, more geekery, and probably at least one moment where one of us says something we immediately regret. See you then.